At Sunday dinner, my white daughter-in-law wrinkled her nose at my grandmother's mac and cheese and said, "Gloria, your food smells ... poor. Maybe we should hire a caterer instead." The dining room fell silent. 15 family members stared at Ashley in disbelief. I set down my serving spoon and said the words I'd held back for 5 years. "Ashley, the only poor thing in this house is your manners." My name is Gloria Henderson. I'm 58, and I've cooked Sunday dinners for 35 years. It's tradition I learned from my mother. Every Sunday at 2 p.m., my family gathers for fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread, and sweet potato pie. It's not just a meal, it's our history, our culture, our connection. For 5 years, Ashley has attended these dinners with barely concealed contempt. She picks at food, comments about carbs, and checks her phone while everyone else talks and laughs. But she never directly insulted my cooking, until today. Poor, I continued. Let me tell you about poor, Ashley. Poor is not knowing where your next meal comes from. I've been poor. But I was never poor in spirit, or in the ability to show respect. Ashley's face flushed. "Gloria, I didn't mean it like that." "Then how did you mean it?" "You just insulted food my grandmother taught my mother to make, that my mother taught me to make. You insulted generations of women who cooked with love even when they had nothing." My son Marcus spoke up. "Mom, I think Ashley was just. I know what she was suggesting, Marcus. She's been suggesting it different ways for 5 years. Today she finally said it out loud." I looked at my family around the table, all watching to see what would happen. "Ashley, you've come to my Sunday dinners for 5 years. You've never complimented the food, never offered to help, never asked for a recipe. Instead, you've made little comments. Is this healthy? How much butter is in this? I'll just have a small portion. I let it slide because you're my son's wife. But today you crossed a line." Ashley stood up. "I'm sorry if I offended you, but not everyone grew up eating ... this kind of food. Some of us have different standards." "Different standards?" My sister Denise interrupted. "Girl, you better watch your mouth." "Ashley," I said, standing to face her, "I've been quiet about a lot of things. Your comments about my house being quaint. Your surprise that Marcus went to an Ivy League school. Your questions about whether I really owned this house. You called my food poor. But let me tell you what's really poor. Poor is having money but no soul. Poor is living in a nice house but having no sense of home. My food might smell poor to you, but this table is rich. Rich with love, tradition, and family that shows up for each other. You can sit back down, eat this food with respect, and be part of this family, or you can leave." The room waited to see what Ashley would do. What happened next would change our family forever. To understand how we got to this moment, I need to tell you about the first time Marcus brought Ashley home to meet the family. It was 5 years ago, on a Sunday afternoon. Marcus had called ahead to tell me he was bringing someone special to dinner. I was excited. My son had dated before, but he'd never used the words "someone special." This must be serious. I cooked all day, my best fried chicken, my mother's collard greens recipe, mac and cheese with 3 types of cheese, fresh cornbread, and a sweet potato pie that could make you cry. It was so good. When Marcus walked through the door with Ashley, I saw my family's reaction immediately. Not because she was white, we'd had white friends at our table many times before, but because of the way she looked around my house like she was visiting a museum exhibit instead of a home. "Mom, this is Ashley," Marcus said, beaming with pride. "Ashley, this is my mother, Gloria Henderson." I hugged her warmly. "Welcome to our home, sweetheart. We're so happy to have you." Ashley's hug back was stiff, like she was uncomfortable with the physical contact. "Thank you for having me, Mrs. Henderson. Your home is very colorful." The way she said colorful made it sound like a problem. My living room had African art on the walls, family photos everywhere, bright cushions on the couch, and my mother's handmade quilts draped over the chairs. It was full of life, full of history, full of us. "Thank you, baby. Make yourself comfortable. Dinner will be ready in about 20 minutes." As I returned to the kitchen, I heard Ashley whisper to Marcus, "Is it always this? Crowded. Crowded." We had 12 people there that day, not unusual for a Sunday dinner. During the meal, I watched Ashley pick at her food like she was searching for something suspicious. "Is this chicken fried in oil?" she asked, poking at the golden, crispy perfection on her plate. "Yes, honey. That's what makes it fried chicken." "Oh, I try to avoid fried foods. They're not very healthy." The table went quiet. In our family, commenting on the healthiness of someone's cooking is like saying you don't trust their love. My sister Denise jumped in to fill the awkward silence. "Ashley, what do you do for work?" "I'm in marketing. I work for a wellness brand. We focus on clean eating and organic lifestyles." "That sounds interesting," I said, trying to be supportive. "What kind of products?" "Meal replacement shakes, mostly, for people who want to eat healthier but don't have time to cook." She said this while sitting at a table full of food that I'd spent 6 hours preparing with love. "Well, we believe in cooking here," my sister said with an edge to her voice. "Taking time to make real food for the people you love." "Of course," Ashley said quickly. "This is very authentic." Authentic. Another word that sounded like an insult the way she said it. After dinner, Ashley didn't offer to help clear the table or wash dishes, both of which are expected in our family, regardless of whether you're a guest or not. Instead, she sat in the living room checking her phone while my nieces and nephews cleared plates, and my sister and I cleaned up. "Marcus," my sister said quietly in the kitchen, "your girlfriend seems ... nice." The way she said nice told me exactly what she thought. "Give her a chance, Denise. She's just nervous about meeting everyone." Nervous people usually try harder, not less. Over the next few months, as Marcus and Ashley's relationship got serious, the Sunday dinners continued, and so did the comments. "Do you use organic vegetables?" Ashley asked one Sunday, looking at my collard greens with suspicion. "I use fresh vegetables from the farmer's market, honey. Same place my mama bought from, same place her mama bought from." "Oh, I just worry about pesticides." Another Sunday, "How much sodium is in this cornbread?" "Enough to make it taste good, baby." Another Sunday, "Is there any way to make mac and cheese without dairy?" "I've been reading about lactose intolerance." "Sure, we could make it without cheese. We'd just have to call it something else, since it wouldn't be mac and cheese anymore." My family started noticing the pattern. "Gloria, why do you let her talk to you like that?" my cousin Rita asked after one particularly uncomfortable dinner. "Like what?" "Like she's trying to correct your cooking. Like she knows better than you do about food you've been making for 40 years. She's just health conscious, Rita. She's rude." There's a difference between having preferences and making someone feel bad about their food. But I kept quiet, because I didn't want to cause problems between Marcus and Ashley. My son was happy, or at least he seemed happy. And I wanted him to build his own life without his mother interfering. Then Marcus proposed, and Ashley said yes. At their engagement party, which I hosted at my house, Ashley's mother Karen pulled me aside. "Gloria, I want to talk to you about the wedding." "Of course, I'm so excited. What can I do to help?" "Well, Ashley and I have been discussing the reception, and we think it would be best to have it catered by a professional service." "Oh, I was planning to cook for the reception. It's tradition in our family. I'm sure your cooking is lovely for casual family dinners," Karen interrupted, "but a wedding requires a certain level of ... sophistication. We're inviting business associates, colleagues, people who are used to upscale dining. Sophistication." That word felt like a slap. "I understand," I said, even though I didn't. Even though it hurt. "We're also thinking the wedding should be at the country club rather than at a church. Ashley's grandfather is a member, and it would be more convenient for our side of the family." Our side, like there were sides being drawn. The wedding was beautiful at the country club, with professional caterers serving tiny portions of fancy food that nobody could pronounce. I wore a beautiful dress and smiled in all the photos, but I felt like a guest at my own son's wedding, not the mother of the groom. At the reception, I overheard Ashley talking to one of her bridesmaids. "I'm so glad we went with the country club. Can you imagine having the wedding at Marcus's family church? It would have been so, urban. Urban. Another coded word. After the wedding, Marcus and Ashley moved into a house in the suburbs, 45 minutes from my neighborhood. It's a better school district, Marcus explained when I asked why they'd moved so far away. Better than the schools you went to, the ones that got you into Harvard. Mom, you know what I mean. Ashley wants our future kids to have every advantage, except for knowing their grandmother, their aunts and uncles, their cousins, their culture, their history. But they still came to Sunday dinners. Ashley insisted on it, actually. Not because she enjoyed them, but because Marcus insisted on maintaining the tradition. And every Sunday, Ashley made it a little bit clearer that she was there under protest. She started arriving later and later. Traffic was terrible, she'd say, even though they were coming from the same place each week. She started leaving earlier and earlier. We have plans this evening, she'd say, even though it was 4 p.m. and Sunday dinner traditionally lasted until evening. She started bringing her own food sometimes. I'm on a cleanse, she'd explain, pulling out a plastic container of what looked like bird food, while the rest of us ate real meals. My family noticed everything. When is Marcus going to see what she's really like? My niece Jasmine asked one Sunday after Ashley had left early yet again. He loves her, baby. Love can make you blind to things, or maybe he's choosing to be blind. Which is worse? The comments about my cooking got more frequent and more cutting. Have you ever tried using less butter, Gloria? It's really not necessary for flavor. I read that fried foods cause inflammation. Maybe we could bake the chicken instead. Does anyone else find it stuffy in here? Maybe we could eat outside. The food smell is very, strong. That last comment came 3 months ago. The food smell is strong, not good, not delicious, not mouth-watering, just strong. Like it was offensive to her delicate sensibilities. I started to dread Sunday dinners. Something that had been pure joy for 35 years was becoming a source of anxiety. Would Ashley make a comment about the food? Would she embarrass Marcus? Would she hurt my feelings in front of my grandchildren? My sister noticed my change in attitude. Gloria, why are you letting this woman steal your joy? I'm not letting her. Yes, you are. You've been cooking Sunday dinners since before she was born. Don't let her make you feel bad about something you do with love. But Marcus loves her. I have to try to accept her. Accepting her doesn't mean accepting disrespect. There's a difference. 2 months ago, Ashley got pregnant. Marcus called me with the news, and I was genuinely thrilled. A grandchild, my first grandchild. Mom, we're so excited. Ashley wants to talk to you about some things. Ashley got on the phone. Gloria, we need to discuss the baby's upbringing. Of course, sweetheart, what do you want to know? I'm planning to raise the baby with very specific dietary guidelines. No processed foods, no sugar, no fried foods. I want to establish healthy eating habits from the beginning. No fried foods. Meaning my fried chicken, the same fried chicken that had been part of every family celebration for generations, would not be allowed for my grandchild. That's your decision as a parent, I said carefully. But I hope you'll allow my grandchild to experience their family's food traditions. We'll see. I also think it's important that the baby grows up understanding different cultural perspectives, not just being immersed in one cultural identity. Different cultural perspectives. She meant not to black. Ashley, my grandchild will be black. That's not a cultural perspective, that's their identity. Well, biracial, technically. I want them to appreciate both sides of their heritage equally. Both sides. Like my side needed to be diluted to be acceptable. That phone call was a month ago. Last week, Ashley brought her mother Karen to Sunday dinner. It was the first time Karen had come, and I should have known something was up. During the meal, Karen and Ashley exchanged meaningful looks every time someone said something they found amusing or different. When my nephew Darnell talked about his new job at the community center, Karen asked, "Is that in a safe neighborhood?" When my sister mentioned her church's gospel choir, Karen said, "I've always found gospel music so energetic." When my niece talked about her daughter's hair braiding business, Karen asked, "Is that a real business or more of a hobby?" Every question, every comment, was designed to make us feel less than. And Ashley sat there nodding along with her mother, making it clear where she'd learned her subtle racism. After they left, my family was furious. "Gloria, you can't keep letting them come here and disrespect us," my sister said. "What am I supposed to do? Ban my son's wife from Sunday dinner? You're supposed to stand up for yourself and for this family. Because if you don't, Ashley's going to raise that baby thinking we're something to be embarrassed about. She's going to raise that baby thinking fried chicken is unhealthy and collard greens are ethnic food and that everything about us needs to be fixed or improved or hidden away." My sister was right. And this Sunday, when Ashley wrinkled her nose at my food and called it poor, I finally reached my breaking point. I had been silent for 5 years, but not anymore. It was time for Ashley to hear some truths about respect, about culture, about what really matters in life. And it was time for my son Marcus to decide whose side he was really on. Word count: 2,000 words as you stunned a per 1,6 palavras. Is that this to understand how we got here? I need to tell you about the first time Marcus brought Ashley home. It was 5 years ago. Marcus called to say he was bringing someone special to Sunday dinner. I cooked all day, my best fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, fresh cornbread, and sweet potato pie. When Marcus walked in with Ashley, I saw my family's reaction immediately. Not because she was white, we'd had white friends before, but because of how she looked around my house like she was visiting a museum. "Mom, this is Ashley," Marcus said proudly. I hugged her warmly. Ashley's hug back was stiff. "Your home is ... very colorful," she said. The way she said colorful made it sound like a problem. During dinner, Ashley picked at her food like she was searching for something suspicious. "Is this chicken fried in oil?" "Yes, honey, that's what makes it fried chicken." "Oh, I try to avoid fried foods. They're not very healthy." The table went quiet. My sister jumped in. "Ashley, what do you do for work?" "I'm in marketing for a wellness brand. We make meal replacement shakes for people who want to eat healthier but don't have time to cook." She said this while sitting at a table of food I'd spent 6 hours preparing. "We believe in cooking here," my sister said with an edge. "Making real food for people you love. Of course, this is ... very authentic." Authentic, another word that sounded like an insult. After dinner, Ashley didn't offer to help clear or wash dishes, both expected in our family. She sat checking her phone while my nieces and nephews cleaned up. "Marcus, your girlfriend seems nice," my sister said in the kitchen. The way she said it told me everything. Over the next months, the Sunday dinners continued. So did the comments. "Do you use organic vegetables? How much sodium is in this cornbread? Is there any way to make mac and cheese without dairy?" My family noticed the pattern. "Gloria, why do you let her talk to you like that?" my cousin Rita asked. "She's just health conscious. She's rude. There's a difference." But I kept quiet because I didn't want to cause problems. Then Marcus proposed. At their engagement party, Ashley's mother Karen pulled me aside. "Gloria, we think the wedding reception should be catered by professionals. Your cooking is lovely for casual dinners, but a wedding requires a certain level of ... sophistication." Sophistication. That word felt like a slap. The wedding was at the country club, with fancy caterers serving tiny portions nobody could pronounce. I felt like a guest at my own son's wedding. At the reception, I overheard Ashley. "I'm so glad we went with the country club. Can you imagine having it at Marcus's family church? It would have been so ... urban?" Urban, another coded word. After the wedding, they moved to the suburbs 45 minutes away. "Better school district," Marcus explained. "Better than the schools that got you into Harvard. Mom Ashley wants our future kids to have every advantage. Every advantage except knowing their grandmother, their culture, their history." But they still came to Sunday dinners. And Ashley made it clearer each week that she was there under protest. Arriving later, leaving earlier, bringing her own food. When is Marcus going to see what she's really like? My niece asked. He loves her, baby. Love can make you blind. The comments got worse. Have you tried using less butter? Fried foods cause inflammation? Maybe bake the chicken. The food smell is very strong. 3 months ago, she said that. Not delicious, just strong. I started to dread Sunday dinners. Why are you letting this woman steal your joy? My sister asked. Marcus loves her. I have to try. Accepting her doesn't mean accepting disrespect. 2 months ago, Ashley got pregnant. Marcus called with the news. I was thrilled. Mom, Ashley wants to discuss the baby's upbringing. Ashley got on the phone. I'm planning specific dietary guidelines. No processed foods. No sugar. No fried foods. No fried foods. My fried chicken wouldn't be allowed for my grandchild. I hope you'll allow my grandchild to experience their family's food traditions. We'll see. I want the baby to understand different cultural perspectives, not just be immersed in one cultural identity. Not too black. She meant, Ashley, my grandchild will be black. That's their identity. Well, biracial. Technically. Last week, Ashley brought her mother Karen to dinner. Karen asked about my nephew's job. Is that in a safe neighborhood? About my sister's gospel choir. I've always found gospel music so, energetic. About my niece's braiding business. Is that a real business or more of a hobby? Every question designed to make us feel less than. After they left, my family was furious. Gloria, you can't keep letting them disrespect us, my sister said. What am I supposed to do? Stand up for yourself. Because Ashley's going to raise that baby thinking we're something to be embarrassed about. She's going to raise that baby thinking fried chicken is unhealthy and everything about us needs to be fixed. My sister was right. And this Sunday, when Ashley called my food poor, I reached my breaking point. I had been silent for 5 years, but not anymore. After Ashley's poor comment hung in the air, I decided it was time to document exactly what I'd been dealing with for 5 years. Ashley, since we're being honest today, let me walk you through some memories, I said, my voice calm but firm. Our first Thanksgiving together. You asked if we could do something different, instead of my traditional menu. You suggested a Friendsgiving at a restaurant, because home cooking felt too heavy. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Mom, she was just trying to be helpful. Let me finish. Marcus. Christmas that same year, you asked if I could tone down my decorations because they were a bit much. My nativity scene from my grandmother, my angel collection from my mother, my handmade ornaments, all a bit much. Ashley crossed her arms. I was thinking about aesthetic cohesion. You were thinking about making my home look more like yours, more minimalist, more white. My sister Denise leaned forward. Tell her about the hair incident, Gloria. Oh yes. Last Easter, when my granddaughter Zoe came over with her hair freshly braided with beads, beautiful cornrows that took 3 hours, you asked Marcus, in front of her, if that hairstyle was appropriate for school. Ashley's face flushed. I was concerned about dress codes. My granddaughter is 7 years old, and you made her feel like her natural black hairstyle was something to be ashamed of. That's not what I meant. Then there was Marcus's birthday last year. I offered to make his favorite meal, the same meal I've made for his birthday for 35 years. You suggested we go to that new farm-table restaurant instead because it was more refined. What you meant was more white, more acceptable to your friends, more Instagram-worthy. Double quotes. My niece Jasmine spoke up. Tell her about the music, Auntie, right? Every single Sunday, we play music during dinner. Gospel, R&B, old-school soul music that makes us happy. You've asked us to turn it down at least a dozen times because it's hard to have conversation over. Meanwhile, when we came to your house for dinner last month, you had classical music playing so loudly we could barely hear each other, and that was perfectly fine. Marcus looked genuinely confused. Ashley, is all this true? It's taken out of context. Context? I asked. Let me give you more context. Last Mother's Day, you posted on social media about the importance of modern mothers breaking free from traditional expectations. You included a photo of yourself with your green juice and yoga mat, with a caption about choosing wellness over obligation. You posted it on Mother's Day, knowing full well that my definition of motherhood involves cooking for my family, maintaining traditions, and showing up consistently, all the things you clearly consider old-fashioned obligations rather than acts of love. My cousin Rita added, "Tell her about the church comments." Oh, we're going there too. You've attended our church exactly twice in 5 years. Both times, you commented on how enthusiastic the service was. You asked Marcus if he'd consider joining a quieter church closer to your house. Our church isn't too loud, Ashley. You're just uncomfortable with black joy, black worship, black expression. That is not fair, Ashley protested. I've never said anything racist. You've never used racial slurs. I corrected, but racism isn't just about words. It's about making people feel like they need to shrink themselves to make you comfortable. It's about suggesting that our food, our music, our homes, our hair, our churches, our traditions all need to be toned down, quieted, refined, or replaced. My sister stood up. I'm going to tell you about something Gloria won't mention because she's too kind. 6 months ago, Ashley, you asked Marcus if he'd consider getting professional family photos taken at a studio instead of at Gloria's house during Sunday dinner. You said our casual family photos weren't suitable for hanging in your home. What you meant was, we weren't suitable for displaying in your suburban house where your white neighbors might see. Ashley was shaking now. You're all twisting everything, I say. No, my nephew Darnell interrupted. We're finally saying out loud what we've all been noticing for years. You asked my mom why I wear lokes. You asked her if she'd tried talking to me about getting a professional haircut for job interviews. I have a master's degree from Georgetown, and I run a nonprofit. My lokes haven't stopped me from achieving anything except your approval. Marcus looked around the table at his family, finally seeing what we'd all been seeing for years. Ashley, is this true? Have you really been making all these comments? I've been trying to help, I asked. Let me tell you about your help, Ashley. When you found out I was planning to teach my granddaughters how to make my mother's biscuit recipe, you suggested I buy them an easy bake oven instead, because it would be more age-appropriate and less messy. You didn't want them learning to cook real food in a real kitchen the way black girls have been learning for generations. You wanted them playing with a toy. When my nephew graduated from college, you asked why we were having a party at my house, instead of taking him to a nice restaurant. You couldn't understand that having 50 family members celebrating together in a home full of love was better than sitting in a sterile restaurant. When Marcus told you he wanted to teach his future children about their African American heritage, you said you hoped he'd also teach them to be well-rounded and not too focused on race. Like our blackness is something that needs to be balanced out with whiteness to be acceptable. Ashley stood up, grabbing her purse. I don't have to listen to this. Yes, you do, Marcus said firmly, and I was shocked to hear the strength in his voice. Sit down, Ashley. For once, you're going to listen to my family without interrupting, without explaining, without defending yourself. Ashley slowly sat back down, her face red with anger and embarrassment. I continued, my voice steady. Last month, when you found out you were having a boy, you told Marcus you were relieved. You said, and I quote, "At least with a boy, we won't have to deal with all the hair drama. Like my granddaughter's beautiful natural hair is drama. Like black hair is a problem to be solved, rather than a crown to be celebrated. You've already decided that your son, my grandson, is going to have his blackness minimized, managed, and controlled so he fits better into your white suburban world." My sister took over. Let's talk about how you speak to Gloria when you think the rest of us aren't listening. I've heard you tell Marcus that his mother is stuck in the past, that she's resistant to change, that she doesn't understand modern nutrition. Gloria has a degree in nutrition, by the way. She worked as a school nutritionist for 20 years before retiring. But you assumed she was just some uneducated woman cooking soul food without knowledge or skill. Ashley looked genuinely surprised. I didn't know that you didn't know because you never asked, I said. In 5 years, You've never asked about my education, my career, my life before I was Marcus's mother. You've never asked for the stories behind the recipes I cook. You've never asked why Sunday dinner matters so much to this family. You've never asked about the history of soul food, about how enslaved people created magnificent meals from scraps, about how food became our love language, because we weren't allowed to express love openly. You've never asked because you don't actually care. You just want us to conform to your standards. My niece Jasmine pulled out her phone, and since we're being honest, let me read some of your social media posts about us. January, family gatherings can be exhausting when your values don't align. March, sometimes you have to love people from a distance. May, choosing peace over drama. Even with family, every post is a subtle dig at us. Carefully worded so your white friends will understand you're talking about your black in-laws being difficult. Ashley looked around the table wildly, searching for an ally. Marcus, are you going to let them attack me like this? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Ashley, I'm starting to realize they're not attacking you. They're finally defending themselves. For 5 years, I've asked my family to be patient with you, to give you time to adjust, to understand that you come from a different background. But the truth is, you never tried to understand our background. You just tried to change it. Ashley's voice rose. I've been nothing but polite. Polite racism is still racism, my sister said flatly. You've been committing microaggressions for 5 years. And today's comment about the food smelling poor was just the final straw. It's not a microaggression. Ashley shouted. I just meant, what did you mean? I asked. Explain to me what you meant when you said my food smells poor. I meant it smells like ... like basic food, like simple food, not like upscale restaurants. So poor food means simple food, basic food, food that working class people eat. Yes, that's all I meant. And you don't see how that's offensive. You don't see how reducing generations of culinary tradition to basic and simple is disrespectful. This is soul food, Ashley. It's called soul food because it feeds the soul. It's rich in history, in technique, in love. My grandmother made this food while working as a domestic worker in white people's homes. She cooked fancy food for white families all day, then came home and made this food for her own family with pride. My mother made this food while raising 4 children and working 2 jobs. Every meal was an act of love. I make this food to honor them, to connect with my ancestors, to teach my grandchildren where they come from. And you called it poor. The room was completely silent, except for the sound of Ashley's quiet crying, but I wasn't finished. Let me tell you what's really poor, Ashley. Poor is your understanding of what makes food valuable. Poor is your appreciation for culture that isn't your own. Poor is your ability to see past your privilege and understand what disrespect looks like. For 5 years, you've been tolerated in this house despite your constant subtle insults. We've bitten our tongues. We've made excuses for you. We've tried to give you the benefit of the doubt. But today, you went too far. And now you're going to hear some truths that should have been said a long time ago. Marcus finally spoke up, his voice heavy with realization. Mom, I need to apologize. I should have seen this. I should have defended you and our family. Yes, you should have, I said gently, but love made you blind. And maybe you wanted to believe that if you could make Ashley comfortable enough, she'd eventually accept us. But Ashley doesn't want to accept us, Marcus. She wants us to change into something more palatable to her and her family. I looked at Ashley directly. You have a choice to make right now. A real choice. You can acknowledge that what we're saying is true, that you've been disrespectful, and that you need to make genuine changes in how you treat this family. Or you can keep insisting that we're being too sensitive, that we're misunderstanding you, that everything we're feeling is invalid. But if you choose that second option, you need to understand what you're choosing. You're choosing to raise my grandson in a house where half of his heritage is seen as something to be managed, minimized, and hidden away. You're choosing to teach him that his grandmother's cooking isn't good enough, that his family's traditions are embarrassing, that his blackness needs to be diluted to be acceptable. And if that's your choice, then you need to know that this family will fight for him. We will make sure he knows he comes from greatness, from resilience, from people who made miracles out of nothing. We will teach him that soul food isn't poor food, it's royal food. Made by queens who survived slavery, Jim Crow, and systemic racism while maintaining dignity and grace. Ashley was fully crying now, mascara running down her face. I never meant, I didn't realize, ... That's the problem, my sister said. You never meant to be racist. You didn't realize you were being offensive. But impact matters more than intent. The impact of your words and actions over 5 years has been to make this family feel disrespected in our own home, diminished in our own traditions, and judged by our own son's wife. Marcus put his head in his hands. What do we do now? I took a deep breath. Now Ashley makes a choice. And so do you, Marcus. Because I'm not going to keep silent anymore. Sunday dinner is sacred in this family, and anyone who can't respect that isn't welcome at this table. Not my daughter-in-law, not my son, not anyone. This is our culture, our tradition, our heritage, and it's time everyone in this family, including both of you, decides whether they're going to honor it or reject it. But you can't do both. You can't come here and eat this food while looking down on it. You can't benefit from our love while disrespecting our ways. Choose. The entire room waited to see what would happen next. The silence in the dining room was so heavy you could feel it pressing down on everyone. Ashley sat with her hands in her lap, tears still streaming down her face. Marcus looked between his wife and his mother, clearly torn between two worlds he'd been trying to keep separate. My sister Denise broke the silence. Gloria, remember when Ashley asked you about the appropriate way to serve food to guests? I nodded. 6 months ago. You told me I should use proper serving dishes instead of letting people serve themselves family style. You said family style was chaotic and made the table look unrefined. Denise continued. What you really meant was that our way of eating together, passing dishes around, serving each other, that was too black for you. Ashley's voice was barely a whisper. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? My nephew Darnell asked. Because every suggestion you've made for the past 5 years has been about making us act less like ourselves and more like the white families you're comfortable with. My cousin Rita pulled out a notebook. I've been keeping track, actually. Want to hear the list? Rita, you didn't, Marcus said, shocked. Oh, I did. Because somebody needed to document this pattern. Rita opened her notebook. January 2020. Ashley suggests we use place cards at Sunday dinner instead of everyone just sitting wherever. Translation: she wanted assigned seating so she could control who sits next to her. March 2020. Ashley asks if we could limit Sunday dinner to immediate family only because large gatherings make her anxious. Translation: she wanted to cut out the aunts, uncles, and cousins who make up our real family. June 2020. Ashley suggests we start Sunday dinner at 5 p.m. instead of 2 p.m. because it's more of an evening activity. Translation: she wanted to spend less time with us. October 2020. Ashley asks if we could make Sunday dinner a monthly event instead of weekly. Translation: she didn't want to come at all. Marcus looked at Ashley. You made all these suggestions. I was trying to make things easier. Easier for who? I asked. Not for this family. We love our Sunday dinners. We love the chaos, the laughter, the passing of dishes, the kids running around, the music playing. You wanted to make things easier for yourself because you've never been comfortable with Black family dynamics. My niece Jasmine stood up. Can I say something? Because I need Ashley to understand something about what she's doing to this family. Go ahead, baby, I encouraged. Ashley, I'm 19 years old. I've been coming to Aunt Gloria's Sunday dinners my entire life. It's where I learned to cook from the women in my family. It's where I learned our family stories. It's where I feel most connected to my culture and my history. When you make comments about the food, the music, the way we talk and laugh and celebrate, you're not just criticizing a meal. You're attacking something sacred to us. And the worst part is, you're doing it while carrying my cousin's baby. My cousin who will be half Black, who will need to know these traditions. who will need to feel proud of where they come from. How is that baby supposed to love their black family if their mother is teaching them that everything about us needs to be fixed? Ashley's crying intensified. I never thought, that's the problem, my sister said sharply. You never think about how your words affect us. You just say whatever makes you feel superior. Marcus finally spoke, his voice heavy with emotion. I think I need to share something I've been hiding from both sides. Everyone turned to look at him. A few months ago, Ashley told me she wanted to move to Portland. She said the schools are better, the culture is more progressive. The community would be good for raising kids. What she really meant was that Portland is whiter. She wanted to move our family as far from my black roots as possible. I told her no. I told her our children need to grow up knowing their family, their culture, their community. We had a huge fight about it. Ashley said I was being stuck in the past and limiting our children's opportunities. My heart broke hearing this. Marcus, why didn't you tell me? Because I was ashamed, Mom. Ashamed that I'd married someone who fundamentally doesn't respect where I come from. Ashamed that I've been making excuses for her behavior for 5 years. Ashamed that part of me has been trying to be less black, to make her more comfortable. The room fell silent as Marcus's admission hung in the air. I stopped speaking AAVE at home because Ashley said it wasn't professional. Marcus continued, his voice breaking. I stopped playing hip-hop in the car because she said it was aggressive. I stopped talking about racial issues because she said I was being divisive. I've been erasing parts of myself to keep peace in my marriage. And watching you all deal with Ashley's microaggressions today made me realize I've been betraying my own family. I reached across the table to take my son's hand. Baby, that's what internalized racism does. It makes you think you have to choose between your culture and your relationship. But you shouldn't have to choose. A wife who truly loves you would love all of you, including your blackness, your family, your traditions. Ashley finally looked up, her face blotchy and red. I do love him, do you? Denise challenged. Because love isn't just about the person. It's about accepting where they come from, who shaped them, what matters to them. You love the version of Marcus you've been trying to create, the one who's successfully whitewashed, who doesn't embarrass you in front of your friends, who fits neatly into your suburban lifestyle. But that's not the real Marcus. The real Marcus grew up in this house, eating this food, learning these values, being shaped by this community. My cousin Rita added, and if you can't love that Marcus, the real Marcus, then you need to let him go so he can find someone who will. Marcus looked at Ashley with tears in his eyes. Is that true? Do you wish I was less black? Ashley's silence was more damning than any words could have been. Ashley, I asked you a question, Marcus said, his voice stronger now. Answer me honestly. Do you wish I was less black? Double quotes. Ashley struggled to find words. I wish you were less attached to certain aspects of your upbringing. What aspects? Marcus pressed. The food, the music, the way your family is so what? Ashley, so black, so loud, so joyful, so connected, say it, so different from what I grew up with. Ashley finally burst out. Yes, okay, everything about your family is different from mine, and I don't always know how to fit in, and sometimes it's overwhelming, and yes, sometimes I wish things were more more white. I finished for her. That's what you mean. You wish my son was white. You wish his family was white. You wish you could erase our blackness so you'd be more comfortable. Ashley looked around the table at all of us staring at her. It's not about race. It's always about race. My nephew Darnell said. Every suggestion you've made, every comment about our food, our homes, our hair, our music, it's all been about race. You can't separate soul food from blackness. You can't separate Sunday dinner tradition from black family structure. You can't separate the way we love each other from our shared history of survival and resistance. When you attack our food, you attack our culture. When you attack our culture, you attack us. My niece Jasmine pulled out her phone. Can I show everyone something? She held up her phone, showing Ashley's Instagram. This is from 2 weeks ago. Ashley posted a photo of an avocado toast with the caption, "Sunday brunch done right." She posted it at 2 p.m. on a Sunday, the exact time she should have been at Aunt Gloria's house for Sunday dinner. She skipped family dinner to have bougie brunch by herself, and then posted about it online like she was making some kind of statement. Marcus looked at Ashley in disbelief. "You skipped Sunday dinner 2 weeks ago. You told me you had to work." "I did have to work. I had a brunch meeting with a client, a brunch meeting that involved avocado toast and mimosas." Marcus's voice was rising. "On Sunday, the one day of the week you know matters most to my family. I didn't think it was a big deal." "That's the problem, Ashley. You've never thought any of this was a big deal. My family's traditions, my culture, my heritage, none of it has ever mattered to you." My sister Denise stood up. "Marcus, I'm going to say something I should have said 5 years ago when you first brought this woman home. She's not the right person for you. Not because she's white. We've welcomed white partners into this family before. But because she doesn't respect you, doesn't respect us, and doesn't want to. A good partner learns about their spouse's culture. They ask questions. They participate with enthusiasm. They honor what matters to their family. Ashley has done none of that. She's spent 5 years trying to change you and distance you from us. And if you let her continue, you're going to wake up in 10 years as a stranger to your own family, raising children who are ashamed of being black." Marcus put his head in his hands. "I know. I've known for a while now. I've just been too afraid to admit it. I thought if I could make both sides happy, if I could be professional enough for Ashley and her family, and still show up for Sunday dinners, that eventually it would all work out. But it's not working out. I've been losing myself trying to be everything to everyone." I squeezed my son's hand. "Baby, you have to choose. Not between Ashley and us, between the man you want to be and the man she wants you to be. Do you want to raise your son eating soul food, learning his family's recipes, celebrating his heritage? Or do you want to raise him on organic quinoa and meal replacement shakes, pretending half of who he is doesn't exist? Do you want him to grow up proud of being black? Or do you want him to grow up thinking his blackness is something to hide?" Marcus looked at Ashley, who was still crying silently. "Ashley, I need you to answer something honestly. Can you imagine our son coming to Sunday dinners here, eating this food, laughing with his cousins, learning to cook collard greens from his grandmother? Can you imagine him wearing his hair natural, listening to hip-hop, speaking AAVE with his friends? Can you imagine him being fully, proudly, unapologetically black?" Ashley was quiet for a long time. Then, almost in a whisper, "I want him to have options. I want him to fit in everywhere." "Fit in where?" Marcus asked. "Your white suburban neighborhood. Your country club. Your family's world." "Because he won't fit in there, Ashley. Not really. He'll always be the black kid in those spaces, no matter how much you try to make him palatable to white people. The only place he'll truly fit in is with his black family, in his black community, embracing his black identity. And if you can't accept that, if you can't celebrate that, then we have a serious problem." My sister Rita spoke up. "Marcus, you need to hear something. Every time you bring Ashley to Sunday dinner and she makes a comment, you defend her. You tell us to be patient. You tell us she didn't mean it that way. You tell us to give her more time. But it's been 5 years. How much more time does she need to develop basic respect for your family? At some point, you have to stop making excuses for her behavior and start holding her accountable." Marcus nodded slowly. "You're right. I've been enabling her by making excuses." He turned to Ashley. "I love you, but I can't keep sacrificing my identity and my family to make you comfortable. Either you need to genuinely change, not just apologize but actually educate yourself and do the work, or we need to seriously reconsider this marriage." Ashley's head snapped up. "Are you threatening to divorce me? While I'm pregnant?" "I'm telling you the truth you needed to hear 5 years ago," Marcus said firmly. "I will not raise my son in a house where his mother is teaching him to be ashamed of being black. I won't let him grow up feeling like he has to choose between his white family and his black family. And I won't keep betraying my own mother and my own culture to protect your feelings. The room was completely silent as everyone processed Marcus's words. I felt proud and heartbroken at the same time. Proud that my son was finally standing up for himself and his family. Heartbroken that it had taken this long and hurt this much. So what happens now? Ashley asked quietly. I took a deep breath. Now, we see if you're willing to do the real work, not just apologize and go back to how things were, but actual, genuine work to understand why everything you've said and done for 5 years has been hurtful. You need to educate yourself about racism, about microaggressions, about why soul food matters, about Black family structures, about everything you've been dismissing as too much or too different. And you need to apologize, not just to me, but to every person at this table whose culture and heritage you've disrespected. I looked at my family around the table, my sister, my nieces and nephews, my cousins. All of them had been hurt by Ashley's comments over the years. If you're willing to do that, genuinely willing, then we can try to move forward. But if you're not, if you think we're all being too sensitive and you're the real victim here, then you need to leave this table and not come back until you're ready to show respect. Everyone waited to see what Ashley would choose. Ashley sat frozen in her chair, looking around the table at 15 faces waiting for her response. She opened her mouth several times to speak, then closed it again. Finally, she stood up, grabbing her purse from the back of her chair. I can't believe you're all ganging up on me like this, she said, her voice shaking. I came here for a nice family dinner, and you've all ambushed me. Ashley. Marcus started. No, Marcus. Your family has been hostile to me from day one. They've never accepted me, and now they're using one innocent comment to attack me. My sister Denise laughed bitterly. Hostile from day one. Girl, we welcomed you with open arms. We invited you into our home, shared our food, included you in our traditions. You're the one who showed up with your nose in the air, judging everything we do. Ashley's face flushed with anger. I've tried so hard to fit in here. I've come to these dinners every single week for 5 years, even when I didn't want to. Even when I didn't want to, I repeated slowly. And there it is. The truth finally comes out. You've been forcing yourself to tolerate us. Coming here has been a chore you endured, not a blessing you appreciated. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is, Marcus said quietly. Ashley, stop lying to yourself and to us. You just admitted you haven't wanted to be here. Ashley whirled to face him. Of course I haven't always wanted to be here. It's exhausting, Marcus. Exhausting how? He asked, his voice dangerously calm. It's always so loud. Everyone talks over each other. There are children running everywhere. The music is too loud. People are always touching and hugging. That's called family, Ashley, my niece, Jasmine said. That's called love and connection. Well, it's not how my family does things, Ashley shouted. My family has quiet, civilized dinners where people take turns speaking and children behave properly. Your family sits around a table in silence, pushing food around their plates and making passive-aggressive comments. My nephew Darnell shot back. We've been to your parents' house, remember? It's like eating in a morgue. Don't you dare insult my family. But you can insult ours, I asked. You can call our food poor, our homes quaint, our churches too loud, our hair inappropriate, our traditions backward. You can insult us for 5 years, but the moment we defend ourselves, we're the bad guys. Ashley's hands were shaking. I never called you backward. You didn't have to use that exact word, my cousin Rita said. Every suggestion you made was about making us more modern, more sophisticated, more refined. What you meant was more white. Everything about us that makes us Black is something you've tried to change. Ashley looked at Marcus desperately. Are you going to let them talk to me like this? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that shocked everyone. Ashley, I want a divorce. The room fell completely silent. Ashley's face went pale. What? I want a divorce, Marcus repeated, standing up. I can't do this anymore. I can't keep choosing between my wife and my family. I can't keep erasing myself to make you comfortable. Marcus, I'm pregnant with your child, and I will be an excellent father to our son. But I can't be married to someone who makes me ashamed of where I come from. Today made me realize that I've been sacrificing my identity to preserve a marriage that shouldn't exist. Ashley started crying harder. You can't leave me. Not now, not when I'm pregnant. I'm not leaving you because you're pregnant. I'm leaving you because after 5 years, you still don't respect my family, my culture, or me. I've given you 5 years to change, to grow, to develop empathy and understanding. But today proved you haven't changed at all. You called my mother's food poor. The food that she learned from her mother, who learned from her mother. The food that represents generations of survival and love. And when we called you out on it, instead of apologizing and reflecting, you doubled down and made yourself the victim. My sister Denise put her hand on Marcus's shoulder. Baby, you don't have to decide about divorce right this minute. That's a big step. No, Auntie, I've been thinking about it for months. Today just confirmed what I already knew. He looked at Ashley with sadness rather than anger. I love you, Ashley. Or at least, I love the version of you I thought you could become. But you're not that person. You're someone who thinks Black culture needs to be sanitized and controlled. Someone who sees my family as a problem to be managed rather than a blessing to be celebrated. I can't raise my son with someone who will teach him that half of who he is needs to be hidden away. Ashley sank back into her chair. So what? You're just going to leave me alone and pregnant? You won't be alone, Marcus said. You have your parents, your friends, your support system. And I'll be involved in my son's life, very involved. But I won't pretend anymore that our marriage is working. I won't keep lying to myself and my family. My heart was breaking watching my son go through this. But I was also proud of him for finally standing up for himself. Marcus, I said gently, are you sure about this? Marriage is sacred. Maybe you two could try counseling, Mom. We tried counseling 6 months ago. The therapist told Ashley she needed to examine her racial biases. Ashley said the therapist was pushing a political agenda and refused to go back. Ashley's face flushed. That therapist was trying to make everything about race, because it is about race. Marcus exploded. Every problem in our marriage stems from your inability to accept that you married a Black man with a Black family and Black traditions. You want me to be Black enough to be interesting to your friends, but not so Black that I make you uncomfortable. You want our son to have culture, but only the safe, palatable kind that won't embarrass you at the country club. You want to claim you're racist while doing and saying racist things constantly. I'm done, Ashley. I'm done shrinking myself. I'm done apologizing for my family. I'm done pretending your microaggressions are innocent mistakes. He turned to look at me and the rest of our family. I'm sorry it took me so long to see the truth. I'm sorry I let her disrespect you all for 5 years. I'm sorry I chose keeping peace with my wife over defending the people who raised me and loved me unconditionally. You all deserved better from me. And from now on, you're going to get it. I stood up and hugged my son tightly. We forgive you, baby. We understand how hard it is when you love someone who doesn't love all of you. My sister joined the hug. Then my nieces and nephews, until Marcus was surrounded by family. Ashley watched this display of unity with something that looked like envy. This is what you're giving up, I told her. Not just Marcus, but this. A family that shows up for each other. That fights for each other. That loves fiercely and forgives freely. You could have had this, Ashley, if you'd been willing to open your heart and actually try to be part of it. But instead, you held yourself apart. You judged us from a distance. And now you're going to raise my grandson alone, trying to teach him to be ashamed of the very things that make him beautiful. Ashley stood up shakily. I need to leave. Yes, you do, my sister Denise agreed. And don't come back until you're ready to apologize genuinely and do the real work of examining your racism. Ashley looked at Marcus one last time. You're really doing this? You're choosing them over me. I'm choosing myself, Marcus said firmly. I'm choosing to be fully Black, fully me, without apology or compromise. And yes, That means choosing my family who has loved me unconditionally over a wife who has spent 5 years trying to change everything about me. Ashley grabbed her coat and headed for the door. At the threshold, she turned back. You're all going to regret this. When my son is born and you want to be part of his life, you're going to regret treating me this way. My voice was ice cold. Ashley, that baby is half me. He's half this family. He's half this culture you've spent 5 years disrespecting. You can try to keep him from us, but the court won't let you. Marcus will fight for custody, and any judge will see that his son needs to know his black family and his black heritage. So no, we won't regret standing up for ourselves. But you might regret not learning how to respect people who are different from you. Ashley slammed the door behind her. The dining room was quiet for a moment. Then my nephew Darnell said, "Well, that was dramatic." Nervous laughter rippled through the room. Marcus sank into his chair, looking emotionally exhausted. "I can't believe I just asked for a divorce." "You did the right thing," my sister Denise assured him. "Hard doesn't mean wrong, but what about the baby?" Marcus asked. "How am I going to raise my son with a mother who doesn't respect his heritage?" "We'll figure it out together," I promised. "Just like we figure everything out as a family. And your son will know love, he'll know pride, he'll know where he comes from and why it matters. Ashley can try to teach him to be ashamed of being black, but we'll be there teaching him to be proud." My niece Jasmine spoke up. "Uncle Marcus, can I say something?" "Of course, baby." Growing up coming to these Sunday dinners, learning to cook with Aunt Gloria, listening to family stories, that's what made me proud of who I am. When I went to my predominantly white college, I wasn't confused about my identity because I knew exactly where I came from. Your son will have that too, as long as he has this family, as long as he has Sunday dinners, as long as he has this table, he'll know who he is. Marcus smiled through his tears. "Thank you, Jasmine, all of you, for not giving up on me even when I was choosing her over you. You're our family," I said simply. "We don't give up on family." My sister Rita stood up. "Now, can we please eat? Because Gloria made this incredible food, and we're not going to let Ashley's ignorance ruin our Sunday dinner." "That woman called this food poor," Darnell laughed. "Meanwhile, this mac and cheese is better than anything I've ever had at any fancy restaurant." "That's because it's made with love," I said. "Something Ashley will never understand. Love doesn't come from organic ingredients or expensive restaurants. Love comes from showing up, from honoring tradition, from feeding people with your whole heart." We all sat back down at the table. Marcus stayed in his seat, this time, not leaving to follow Ashley. "Mom," he said as I passed him the collard greens, "will you teach me how to make all of these recipes? I want to be able to cook this food for my son. I want him to grow up eating his great-grandmother's mac and cheese, his grandmother's fried chicken, his family's soul food." My eyes filled with tears. "Baby, I would love nothing more. We'll start next Sunday. We'll cook together, and I'll teach you every recipe, every technique, every story behind the food. And when your son is old enough, we'll teach him too. Just like it's been done in our family for generations." As we ate our Sunday dinner, the table felt different somehow, lighter, freer. We'd finally said out loud what needed to be said. We'd finally defended ourselves and our culture. And most importantly, we'd gotten my son back. The Marcus who had walked in with Ashley was trying to be someone else. The Marcus eating with us now was fully himself again. That night, after everyone had left, Marcus helped me clean up the kitchen. "Mom, I'm sorry about all of this. Sorry you had to spend your Sunday dealing with drama instead of enjoying family. Baby, standing up for yourself and your family isn't drama. It's necessary. And I'm proud of you for finally doing it, even though it was hard." Marcus was quiet for a moment, washing dishes at my sink. "Do you think I made the right choice? Asking for a divorce? I think you made the only choice you could make, if you want to live with integrity. You can't be half yourself, Marcus. You can't spend your life code itching, hiding your culture, pretending your family is too much. You deserve a partner who loves all of you, who thinks Sunday dinner is a blessing, not a burden. Ashley showed you who she was. Believe her. Marcus nodded slowly. I just keep thinking about my son. Growing up with divorced parents, being pulled between two worlds, ... double quotes. Your son will be fine, I assured him, because he'll have one parent who teaches him to be proud of who he is, and a whole family who will love him unconditionally. That's more than a lot of children have. As Marcus left that night, he hugged me tight. Thank you for not giving up on me, Mom. Thank you for finally telling the truth even when it was hard. That's what mothers do, baby. We tell our children the truth, even when it hurts. After he drove away, I sat at my kitchen table in the quiet house, thinking about everything that had happened. Ashley had called my food poor, but she was wrong. This food, this tradition, this love, this culture, was the richest thing my family had. And no one was ever going to make me feel ashamed of it again. 3 months after the Sunday dinner confrontation, Marcus and Ashley's divorce proceedings were underway. Ashley had tried to use the pregnancy to manipulate Marcus into staying, but he held firm. He hired an excellent family lawyer and filed for joint custody before the baby was even born. And every Sunday, Marcus came to my house for dinner. Not reluctantly, not as an obligation, but with joy. Mom, I want to learn how to make your cornbread today, he said one Sunday as he walked into my kitchen. I handed him an apron, the same apron his father used to wear when he helped me cook. First lesson: cornbread isn't just about following a recipe. It's about feeling the batter, knowing when it's right. As we cooked together, Marcus told me about his week. Ashley's lawyer tried to argue that our son shouldn't be exposed to culturally specific foods until he's old enough to choose for himself. I stopped mixing. What? Her lawyer literally argued that soul food is too culturally specific, and that forcing it on a baby would be imposing my culture on him. Baby, that child is Black. Soul food is his culture, not an imposition. That's what my lawyer said. The judge shut it down immediately. She said, and I quote, "Mr. Henderson has every right to share his cultural heritage with his son, including food traditions." I felt a surge of satisfaction. Good, because that baby is going to grow up eating my mac and cheese whether Ashley likes it or not. Marcus laughed, really laughed, something I hadn't heard him do freely in years. The judge also ordered that Ashley attend cultural competency counseling as a condition of joint custody. She has to complete a 12-week course on raising biracial children and understanding Black culture before the baby is born. How's she handling that? According to her Instagram, which she doesn't know I can still see, she's furious. She posted something about court-mandated indoctrination and being punished for having standards. My sister, Denise, who had come over to help cook, snorted. That woman is never going to learn. Maybe not, Marcus agreed. But at least now there's a legal record of her attitudes. When my son is old enough to understand, he'll know that his father fought for him to know his culture. 4 months later, Marcus's son was born. He named him James, after his father, James Malcolm Henderson. When Marcus brought baby James to Sunday dinner for the first time, he was 3 weeks old, a tiny, perfect baby, with brown skin and a head full of black curls. "Everyone, meet James Malcolm Henderson," Marcus announced proudly. The entire family crowded around to see the baby. "He looks just like you did as a baby," I marveled, holding my grandson for the first time. Same little nose, same serious expression. Did Ashley come to terms with the name? My niece Jasmine asked. She wanted to name him something more contemporary. I think she suggested Grayson or Hunter. I told her his name was James Malcolm, after his grandfather and Malcolm X, and that wasn't negotiable. She tried to argue, but the judge reminded her that we have joint decision-making. And I wasn't budging on this. I rocked baby James gently. "Welcome to the family, little one. You're going to learn how to make cornbread and collard greens. You're going to hear stories about your ancestors. You're going to know exactly where you come from." My sister Denise leaned over to look at the baby. "And you're going to come to Sunday dinners every single week, and know that this table is yours, this food is yours, this family is yours." Over the next few months, a new pattern emerged. Marcus had James every other week, plus Wednesday evenings and alternate holidays. And every Sunday that Marcus had custody, He brought James to my house for dinner. At first, James was too young to eat solid food. But he was there, being held and passed around the family, hearing our voices, feeling our love. When James was 6 months old and started eating solid food, Marcus brought him into the kitchen to watch us cook. "Mom, show me how to make your mac and cheese. I want to make it for James when he's ready." We spent that afternoon cooking together, me teaching, Marcus learning, baby James watching from his high chair. "See, you have to mix 3 cheeses," I explained. "Sharp cheddar for flavor, mild cheddar for creaminess, and a little bit of Velveeta for that perfect texture." Ashley would have a heart attack hearing about Velveeta. Marcus laughed. "Ashley doesn't get a vote about what happens at my table," I said firmly. "This is our food, our tradition, our family." When James was 9 months old, he tried his first taste of my cooking, a tiny spoonful of mashed sweet potatoes. His eyes lit up and he reached for more. "That's my boy," Marcus said proudly. "You know good food when you taste it." The entire family cheered as James ate his first Sunday dinner. "Another generation," my sister said, wiping away tears. "Another Henderson baby learning to love soul food." But things with Ashley remained difficult. She continued to fight Marcus on everything related to James's upbringing. She wanted James in a predominantly white daycare. Marcus insisted on a diverse program in our neighborhood. She wanted James's hair cut short. Marcus let his curls grow natural. She bought James clothing from expensive boutiques, with words like heartbreaker and future CEO. Marcus dressed him in shirts that said black, excellence and melanin magic. Every decision was a battle. One Sunday, Marcus arrived at dinner looking exhausted. "Ashley is threatening to go back to court. She says I'm indoctrinating James with divisive racial ideology." "What does that even mean?" my nephew Darnell asked. "It means she's upset that I'm teaching our son to be proud of being black. She wants him to be colorblind, and not focus on race. That's because she wants him to act white," my cousin Rita said bluntly. "She wants to raise him as white as possible, and pretend his blackness doesn't exist." "Well, she's going to fail," I said firmly. "Because that baby comes here every Sunday. He eats our food, he hears our music, he learns our values. By the time he's old enough to understand, he'll know exactly who he is and where he comes from." When James turned 1 year old, we had his birthday party at my house. Marcus invited both sides of the family, his black family and Ashley's white family. The contrast was stark. Ashley's family arrived dressed like they were attending a country club event, pastel colors, pearls, perfectly styled hair. They brought expensive gifts and stood awkwardly in my living room, clearly uncomfortable. Our family brought love, laughter, and homemade cards from the children. We played music, we danced, we passed baby James around like the precious gift he was. Ashley's mother Karen approached me in the kitchen. "Gloria, I want to apologize for my daughter's behavior at that Sunday dinner last year." I turned to face her. "Do you? Or do you just want to smooth things over now that there's a grandchild involved?" Karen looked uncomfortable. I didn't realize how much Ashley was struggling with Marcus's family culture. Struggling, that's an interesting way to describe years of disrespect and microaggressions. She should have been more diplomatic. She should have been more respectful. There's a difference. "Karen, your daughter spent 5 years making my family feel inferior in our own home. She called our food poor, our traditions backward, our culture something to be embarrassed about. And now she's trying to raise my grandson to be ashamed of half of who he is." Karen was quiet for a moment. "What can we do to make this better? For James's sake. For James's sake, your family needs to understand that he is black, not half black, not biracial in a way that lets you ignore his blackness. Black, he needs to see his white family respecting and celebrating his black heritage, not trying to erase it. He needs to hear you talking positively about soul food, about black culture, about his father's family. If you can't do that, then you need to understand that James will learn to see you the way your daughter sees us, as people who don't really accept him." Karen nodded slowly. "I understand. I'll talk to Ashley." Ashley needs more than talk. She needs to do the actual work of examining her racism and changing her behavior. The court-ordered counseling is a start, but it's not enough. She needs to want to change, not just go through the motions. At the birthday party, I watched Ashley interact with baby James. She loved him, that was clear, but I could see her discomfort every time he reached for Marcus's family members. Every time he smiled at the music. Every time he seemed happy in our space. She wanted to love him on her terms. As a baby she could mold into someone more palatable to her world. But James was already becoming his own person. And that person was Black, joyful, and deeply connected to his family. 2 years after the confrontation, James was now 3 years old and talking in full sentences. One Sunday, as we were setting the table for dinner, James tugged on my dress. "Grandma, what we having today?" "We're having fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, and cornbread, baby. My favorite." James clapped his hands. Ashley, who was there for the custody exchange, overheard this. "James, you know you're not supposed to have fried foods more than once a month." James looked confused. "But Daddy says Grandma's fried chicken is special. All fried food is fried food," Ashley said tightly. "No, it's not," James said with the confidence of a 3-year-old. "Grandma's chicken is love chicken." The entire room fell silent. "Love chicken," Ashley repeated. "Daddy says Grandma makes love chicken because she puts love in it, and love makes it good for you." I knelt down to James's level. "That's right, baby. When you cook with love, it feeds more than just your belly. It feeds your heart and your soul." "That's ridiculous," Ashley started. "No, it's not," Marcus interrupted firmly. "It's truth. Mom's cooking isn't just about nutrition labels and calorie counts. It's about family, history, and love. And our son is going to grow up understanding that, whether you like it or not." Ashley looked at James, who was now helping his cousins set the table, completely at ease in our home. "He's more comfortable here than at my house," she said quietly, and for the first time, I heard sadness rather than anger in her voice. "Of course he is," I said, not unkindly. "Because here, he's celebrated for exactly who he is. He doesn't have to be quieter, less Black, more manageable. He can just be James, loud, joyful, Black, and loved." Ashley watched her son laugh with his cousins, and I saw something shift in her expression. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "I don't know how to be the mother he needs." "Then learn," my sister Denise said, surprising us both by joining the conversation. "It's not too late to do the work. Read books, listen to Black voices, examine your biases. Stop trying to make James fit into your world, and start learning about his. But most importantly, stop fighting Marcus on every decision about James's culture. Start supporting it." Ashley nodded slowly. "The court-ordered counseling has been ... eye-opening. I'm starting to realize how much damage my attitude has caused." "Good," I said. "Because James is going to need both his parents to be on the same page about celebrating who he is. He's going to face enough racism from the outside world. He shouldn't have to face it from his own mother." 3 years after the confrontation, on a Sunday afternoon, something remarkable happened. Ashley asked if she could stay for Sunday dinner. The entire family exchanged looks. Marcus looked at me, silently asking what I thought. "You're welcome to stay," I said carefully. "But you need to come to this table with respect." "I will," Ashley promised. "I've been working with a therapist who specializes in transracial families. She's helping me understand all the ways I've harmed James and Marcus with my behavior. I'm not perfect yet. I'm still learning. But I want to try." That Sunday, Ashley sat at our table and ate soul food without comments about calories or health concerns. She listened to our music without asking us to turn it down. She watched James laugh and play without trying to quiet him down. It wasn't perfect. She was clearly still uncomfortable. But she was trying. After dinner, as she was leaving, Ashley approached me privately. "Gloria, I owe you an apology. A real one. Not the defensive non-apology I gave before. I called your food poor. I disrespected your home, your culture, your traditions, and your family for 5 years. I did it because I was raised to believe that my way of living was superior. That white culture was the default. That anything to black was something to be fixed. I was wrong. Completely. Totally wrong. Your food isn't poor, it's rich with history and love. Your home isn't too much, it's full of life and joy. Your family isn't too loud, you're just unafraid to express emotion. I robbed myself of 5 years of being part of something beautiful because I was too blinded by my privilege to see what was right in front of me. I'm sorry, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure James knows how lucky he is to have this family and this culture. I looked at this woman who had caused so much pain, who was finally starting to understand what she'd done wrong. Apology accepted, I said. But understand that apologies are just words. What matters is changed behavior. I know. I'm working on it every day. Then you're welcome at this table. Not as someone we have to tolerate, but as James's mother who is doing the work to be better. 5 years after the confrontation, James was now 8 years old. He was thriving, confident, joyful, and deeply proud of being black. He loved coming to my house every Sunday. He had learned to help me cook, and his collard greens were almost as good as mine. One Sunday, James brought a friend from school, a white boy named Tyler. "Grandma, Tyler's never had soul food before. Can he try everything?" "Of course, baby. There's always room for one more at this table." As I served Tyler a plate of food, I watched his eyes widen. "This is amazing," Tyler said after tasting the mac and cheese. "My mom's mac and cheese comes from a box." "Nothing wrong with box mac and cheese," I said diplomatically. "But homemade is special because it's made with love and passed down through families." James nodded seriously. "That's what makes Grandma's food the best. She puts love in it, and you can taste it." After dinner, Tyler asked, "James, do you come here every single Sunday?" "Every Sunday my dad has me, yeah. It's our tradition." "That's so cool. I wish my family had traditions like this." "Maybe you could start some," James suggested. "You could ask your grandma to teach you how to cook something special to your family." I felt my heart swell with pride. My grandson was 8 years old, and he already understood the importance of family traditions and cultural heritage. Marcus, watching this exchange, smiled at me across the table. We had done it. Together, we had raised a child who was proud of who he was, who loved his culture, who understood the value of family and tradition. Ashley had tried to take that away from him, but she had failed. Because love, the kind of love that shows up every Sunday, the kind of love that cooks food with care, the kind of love that passes down recipes and stories, that kind of love is stronger than ignorance, stronger than prejudice, stronger than anyone who tries to diminish it. That evening, as James helped me clean up the kitchen, he asked, "Grandma, can I learn how to make your fried chicken next week?" "Baby, you're 8. That's a little young for handling hot oil, but I want to learn all your recipes before I grow up. I want to be able to cook this food for my kids someday." I pulled my grandson into a hug. "Then we'll start teaching you. We'll start with the recipes that are safe for your age, and as you get older, we'll teach you everything. Just like my mother taught me, and her mother taught her, and her mother taught her. Because that's what we do in this family. We pass down love through food, through tradition, through showing up every single Sunday, no matter what. That's what makes us rich, James. Not money, not fancy things, not what other people think of us, but love, family, and food made with our hands and our hearts." James looked up at me seriously. "Grandma, you know what Tyler said when we were leaving?" "What, baby?" "He said your food smells amazing. Not poor at all." I smiled, remembering Ashley's words from 5 years ago. "Well, Tyler is a smart boy who knows good food when he smells it." "But Grandma, why did my mom used to say your food smelled poor?" I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "Your mom was going through a difficult time where she didn't understand the difference between being expensive and being valuable. She thought things that cost a lot of money were better than things made with love. But she's learning now that the most valuable things in life aren't things you can buy. They're things you create with your hands and your heart. Like this food, like these traditions, like this family." James nodded thoughtfully. I'm glad she's learning. Because I really like having Sunday dinners here. Me too, baby, me too. As Marcus and James left that night, James waving from the car window, I stood on my porch thinking about everything that had happened over the past 5 years. Ashley had called my food poor. She had tried to make me feel ashamed of my culture, my traditions, my family. But instead, she had given me an opportunity to stand up for everything I believed in, to defend soul food as more than just a meal, but as a legacy. To protect my grandson's right to know his heritage, to show my son that he never had to shrink himself for anyone. That Sunday dinner 5 years ago had been painful, but it had also been necessary. Because sometimes, you have to fight for what matters. Sometimes, you have to speak up when you've been silent too long. Sometimes, you have to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your dignity. I chose dignity. I chose truth. I chose my family. And I would make that choice again every single time. My food wasn't poor. My traditions weren't backward. My family wasn't too much. We were exactly right. Rich in love, rich in culture, rich in everything that truly matters. And every Sunday, we proved it one plate of food at a time.